player to coach. Tom works very hard. He's very smart. He's trained hard. He's worked hard on his throw mechanics. He's worked hard on his mental understanding of the game and process. He's earned everything that he's achieved, but wasn't always there. He's not a great natural athlete. He's a very smart, instinctive football player.
That would be one Bill Belichick praising Tom Brady during his appearance on CNBC yesterday, actually opening up a little bit. So that got us thinking in the morning meeting, since we often compare Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers on this show as the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Max, I'll start with you. Do you think Belichick would rather have Brady or Rodgers?
Look, he's not going to do better than 5 Super Bowls, and he's won them with Tom Brady and all the conference championships, so he's not trading Tom Brady for anyone, given his experiences with them. But what I am saying is if at any point you divorced all the experience and trust and faith in the relationship they have in each other, and now the track record that validates what Belichick feels about Brady, you divorce that from it, and you have Belichick evaluate those two in any given season, he will take Aaron Rodgers over Tom Brady because Aaron Rodgers is clearly better than Tom Brady.
I think easily Bill Belichick would prefer Tom Brady. But here's why, and I think it's important for us to point this out, while we revere the greatness of Aaron Rodgers. We do so because of his talent. Any coach, any leader, any boss would praise leadership, commitment to excellence, tireless work ethic, all of those things. Because their mentality is that give me that to work with, and I've got a better chance of achieving more success with that level of commitment than I do with somebody who's just talented. I don't care what business it is. No matter how talented you are, if there's somebody whose talent at a particular level is still great, even if it's not the greatest, there isn't a boss, a coach, a leader, any kind of position that would not prefer the individual who has all of those other requisite intangibles attached to them rather than just superior talent.
Preach.
They'll take great talent along with that other stuff in favor of superior talent any day of the week.
Sure, but Aaron Rodgers is so much more talented. Everything Brady can do, certainly on the field. Look, Belichick may have a point, or others who argue Brady may have a point in terms of leadership, locker room, whatever, chemistry that's developed, whatever else. But everything Brady can do as a quarterback, Rodgers can do. And he can do a whole bunch of things that Brady can't do, and Brady even admits that. Now, were Rodgers a guy who'd never won a Super Bowl, that's fine, but he has. And to compare their resumes side by side is unfair to Rodgers in terms of team accomplishment for at least 2 reasons. 1, Brady's much older, so he's had more time. And 2, Brady's in a superior organization. It's not like Green Bay or bums, where that's a bad organization. But the Patriots are standard deviations better from the rest of the league, and that includes the Green Bay Packers. And it's not like Green Bay Packers would even be in 2nd or 3rd place. So all of that helps Brady in terms of the career accomplishments.
No, it doesn't. Because the fact of the matter is, again, it goes back to what I said. You know, if you sit there and you're working with somebody and they got all the talent in the world, but they believe it's a license for them, and I'm not accusing Aaron Rodgers of this at all. I'm just speaking in generalities about greatness compared to greatness with great preparation. I'm simply saying to you that if you're an ultra talent and you know it, you're hard-headed. You're a lot of different things that are deemed to be negative. We've had a conversation ad nauseum for months talking about the greatness of Terrell Owens, who's in every major statistical category as a top 3 wide receiver in the history of the National Football League. But he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's been snubbed twice. Why? Because the other intangibles that come along with it, voters are saying...
But we're not talking to you.
Hold on. Voters
there's not enough time to hold on. We're coming to an end here, Stephen A. It's Belichick or Rodgers. Brady or Rodgers is the question.
I shut up and listen to you wax poetically about it. I explained the difference. So I'm using an example.
No, you just said that you're talking in generalities. Are you applying this to Rodgers or not?
Wait a minute. So let me tell you this. You are the one that has made the argument about Terrell Owens in the past. And I'm simply saying to you, I'm addressing your point. If you can't sit up there and make a point and then get mad at me for highlighting the point that you make and how it makes no damn sense. You are the one that talked about greatness.
Just now.
That's what you did. You didn't bring up T.O. now, but you brought him up for months.
But
and talking about
you
greatness.
just said, Stephen A., you just said you're
great,
talking in
greatness.
generalities.
You can be great,
you're not
but
saying
you can
this
be
applies to
hard-headed,
Aaron
and it
Rodgers.
can get in the way
Does
of winning.
Does it apply to Rodgers or not?
Yeah, but it does apply to Rodgers based on what other people have said about him.
Oh,
That was
so
my
it does.
point.
So not generalities. You mean specifically about Rodgers?
Because there's
he
a
doesn't
bevy
do the things that Brady
of
does.
examples. But now nobody understands what we said because you were scared to hear my point.
All
but it's
right,
okay.
No,
let's
I heard
settle
your
this
point. I heard your
foolishness.
point the second
That's
time
okay.
you made it.
Bill Belichick only wants Tom Brady. I promise you that. Trust me. Restless in Seattle. More news out of Seahawks camp as the Raiders are actively negotiating with Marshawn Lynch, and Oakland can trade with the Seahawks for Lynch's rights before he's formally reinstated, a source telling our Ed Werder. Now, our Adam Schefter reported last week that a deal between the Raiders and Lynch would eventually happen. This is on top of the news that the Seahawks are considering trading Richard Sherman. Stephen A., what is going on, and what does this say about the Seahawks particularly?
I don't think the Seahawks have been the same team since Pete Carroll and Darrell Bevell collaborated to make the dumbest decision in Super Bowl history when they elected not to give Marshawn Lynch the ball at the half-yard line to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think that the Seattle Seahawks, as we knew and loved them, have never been the same ever since. The immediate season following, we saw Cam Chancellor essentially hold out for more money. We saw Richard Sherman on the sidelines. We saw Earl Thomas get hurt. We saw a flagrantly more disinterested beast mode in Marshawn Lynch, even though to some degree he was injured. At the end of the day, what it came down to is that he wasn't the same guy. And what we're seeing is guys, once upon a time, who rallied together and loved being in Seattle. Now there are question marks as to how much they want to be a part of it now. It seems to be more about business than it is about anything else. And anybody that has a better business opportunity or a similar business opportunity seems inclined to go elsewhere rather than be fixated on staying together. That was not the image that they had a few years ago when they won the Super Bowl and when they went back to the Super Bowl. But over the last couple of years since that Super Bowl loss, they have not been the same psychologically.
Look, you can point there because obviously they got to the Super Bowl and should have won and didn't. So how can I point to the Max Unger Jimmy Graham trade, which occurred before, and say that's the turning point? But I think it was. They gave up a really good offensive lineman. The offensive line, even though, look, they have a tremendous defense. So they were able to overcome it in various ways, and a great quarterback, and Baldwin has developed into a front-line receiver. But without that offensive line, they have really struggled running the ball. And not just running the ball, but protecting Russell Wilson. And that resulted in an injury early in the season and ineffectual play compared to their normal standards throughout the season. So I would point to that as the turning point, though, Stephen A., I do agree that in terms of the kind of sense that maybe some of these players have turned against Pete Carroll, I mean, who else would it be? The Marshawn Lynch situation, not giving him the ball, may have been the psychological turning point for them. I think in terms of the way the team was structured, it was the trade of Max Unger for Jimmy Graham.
I don't want to go as far as say they turned against Pete Carroll, but the reverence in which they deferred to him and seemed to accord to him in years past doesn't appear to be to that level right now. That much I will say.
But Stephen A., also, especially even with that call, if the trust is lost, I mean, how can there be any chemistry if they don't entirely trust in him anymore?
Well, you may not entirely trust in him, but that doesn't mean you think he's a bum or he doesn't know what he's doing or anything. I think I think where the problem lies is that it wasn't a mistake in the eyes. I'm telling you what I know speaking to some of the players. It wasn't a mistake in their eyes that he made the call. It was the fact that he appeared to want Russell Wilson to be the star as opposed to giving the ball a beast mode and closing the deal out. That's what resonates with guys.
There are also personnel decisions. You know, Richard Sherman's a very smart guy. He understands football, obviously, a Stanford guy and an all-pro level player. And when you look at an organization where they weaken the O-line, where they go to Eddie Lacy to fill a running back situation without even strengthening the O-line, where they're looking to trade, where Marshawn Lynch is kind of undervalued in a certain way and maybe will be allowed to go to a competitor. A guy like Richard Sherman's there going, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. And that's an indication, I think, not only that Super Bowl moment's a turning point, but that faith in the organization in terms of getting the right pieces and putting them in the best positions to win is declining.
What do you think this means for the Raiders then, Max?
In terms of getting Marshawn Lynch?
And where they would be in the division?
Look, if Marshawn Lynch ain't going to help you get to the quarterback, you know, and that's really what the Raiders need. They need, you know, Khalil Mack needs some help. They're not going to help you he's not going to help you in the defensive backfield. He's not going to help you, you know, stop the other team from scoring unless you believe that that's part of a real ball control offense. But given the quarterback and the receivers, I don't know that you want to play ball control necessarily with that offense. So I do think he helps them modestly over what they had. But I don't know that he's the answer in Oakland. But with or without him, Oakland is ascending. If Derek Carr is healthy and they do anything about the defense in the draft, they could win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, they look pretty good this past season right up until he got hurt.
On that note, we will leave it there. Stephen A., you have the last word today and final take. Take it away.
Jackie Robinson, what a strong man.
He gave me an opportunity to not only play this great game of baseball, but to help break down color barriers throughout the world.
Jackie rifles it down into left field. The first Negro player to appear in an All-Star game, and it's good for a double.
And here comes Robinson, trying to steal home. He's safe, says the ump. He's out, says Yogi Berra.
He stole more bases than the entire Yankee team. He's directly responsible for Brooklyn winning the pennant. Jackie Robinson.
Right man at the right time. Because of him, can all say thank you for letting us play this game.
Did you see Jackie Robinson hit that ball?
You are so disrespectful.
He is going to fall off a cliff.
Shut the hell up.
That's not even close to my best.
They're wrong. And I don't give a damn that they agree with me or not. If you don't care, you may not have heard the news. Tomorrow, right here in the City of Angels, the Los Angeles Dodgers will unveil a statue of Jackie Robinson, commemorating the 70-year anniversary of him integrating Major League Baseball in 1947. It'll be historic because of the player he was, the pioneer he was, and obviously because of the man he was, evidenced by a legacy carried on throughout all of these years by his wonderful wife Rachel and the rest of the Robinson family, hell-bent on reminding all of us that the player he was paled in comparison to the character of this man. It's why tomorrow will mark the 14th Jackie Robinson Day after the remembrance of what started in 2004. It's why all on-field personnel will wear the number 42 for the ninth consecutive season, though some players started wearing it back in 2007 after eventual Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. made a request of the commissioner to do so. But it's also why we should all lament the fact that, yet again, the number of African Americans in Major League Baseball, once as high as 18.7% in 1981, continues to dwindle. Presently, it's at 6.7% and hasn't been above 7.2% for the last 5 years. It's also why we should be concerned that MLB's Latino population is more than 27%, as has been the case with them for the last 4 years, and that their populace within the sport has been more than African Americans since 1994. Now, I could wax poetically about how Spanish-speaking blacks were ultimately categorized separately than American blacks, diluting the impact of what once was classified simply as the minority or the black community. But that's going a bit too deep right now. Instead, what I'll say instead is something far more simple. Labor from other countries ultimately was deemed cheaper than talent right here in America. The fact that they were individuals of color essentially killed two birds with one stone. You still had players who weren't just white. Therefore, the MLB wasn't compelled, as they should have been, to do something to address the paucity of African Americans in their sport. A fact MLB has tried to change, by the way, with its RBI program. But as a result, here we are. There are far more whites in Major League Baseball, far more Latinos, and far less blacks in the sport. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that's what Jackie Robinson intended. So it's nice that the MLB is celebrating Robinson. He's certainly worthy. But while remembering Jackie Robinson, let's remember not only his sacrifices, but why he sacrificed in the first place. Inclusion, equality, civility, it all mattered. But so did actual participation. And based on these numbers, things have actually gotten worse. Not better.
If you want to see more of our Final Take segments, head over to our Twitter and Facebook pages so you can join the conversation and leave your take there. And tune in on Monday. It's going to be a lot of fun because we will be reacting to the playoffs. Stephen A., are you so excited? It's finally here.
Well, I'm excited now that it's the playoffs. I'm just as excited that the regular season is over. Thank you very much.
That's
what
exactly
a great
what
regular
I meant.
season. The Grinch who stole the regular season.
He is
that's me.
He is the Grinch. That is for sure. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. And all of you at home, have a happy Easter if you're celebrating. And we will see you on Monday talking playoffs.